We looked at the standard states, uh, which I used to take my averages from and use for my formulas, where you expect the death rate to be approximately something that follows these lines. So now I'm going to show some countries that started off bad, starting with Italy. So you would expect the blue line to be around here. Italy was one of the first countries, 331. It's about 2 weeks before the U.S. hit the peak. So there's two things going on. One, they're not taking very many tests, and they don't know how to deal with the virus. So of the people that are tested, there's a high number of people that are dying. However, the entails are quite good. The very small number of deaths. Another country that did not do well is France. As you see, the number of deaths is quite high compared to the number of infected. However, in here, there's maybe a new wave of infected, or more testing, because we know that all of these, there's many more infected than this number. But here, there's not many more infected. There's just a little bit more. In other words, the difference between the true number and this number here at the beginning is very high. The true number of infected is way up here. Whereas here, the true number of infected is not as high. This is close to the true number of infected. So we're testing more, or there's a little bit more infected, but not as much as this would seem compared to this. And France is doing quite well at mitigation right here. As you see, France is the death rate is about the same as New York. France does not have a high density, so I expected less here. So at least they're doing less than the expected. So you've seen if you've seen the first video, this is where I get my data from. It's from a site called COVID19healthdata.org, and the other one is worldmeters.info coronavirus. Unfortunately, there's a problem with Ecuador. I used this. No, I don't know what data I used. Well, one set of data says 12,300, and the other set of data says 19,000. I don't know which one is right. Another country that didn't do well is Spain. Let's see, the peak reached a little bit later than France, and like I said, these numbers I shifted to the right. There's probably a reason why they're shifted too much here, but it usually works out well with most countries. Although at the beginning, I do expect the death rate to be close to the number of infected, because they usually came in at the last moment. In other words, they came in when they were within a week or less to die, so the number of infected was close to the number of as a percentage, or like as the top of the hump. they should have been at pretty close. But I did shift all the data a bit, so these are actually close together, which means that probably what I'm saying, that people were coming in close to death, and they didn't take a week or two to die. But that seems what could be what happened. They're doing a good job of mitigating, because the numbers of cases are counted are going up. The case deaths are not, except it doesn't seem to be as good. It's now 59, but that was a month ago. Hopefully they're doing better. As far as the total deaths, it's also quite bad. It compares to New York, and it's close to the 2.1. This is 0.1% of the population, and because it's not too densely populated, I expected this number to be less actually. So it's close to the density number, the population minus the fact that it's not very dense. So this is not very good. It's I think worse than France. Yeah, look at that. France is much less than that number, much less than the 0.1% of the population. Argentina. They did a good job at holding off the virus. It's very hard. It's so hard to stop it because it's so contagious. You would think that in this time they would have learned enough from other countries to do like good mitigation. So they are that's a large number. They are counting a large number of people. The reason that the number of death is high, that's sick. Fortunately, they're doing quite well compared to the population. 0.1% of the population is 41,000. They're a sparse country. Not sparse, but not as densely as I would expect this at most. And they're doing way better than others that we have dealt with, and it's doing well compared to New York City. This could be Belgium. This could be the worst country of all, even though we hear mostly about Italy and Spain. The deaths are way higher than expected from the number of infected, and it's not a dense country. We expected to get 9,000, and we got a little bit higher than that. Seems like the country is similar to Michigan. Michigan we expect about the same, and it's actually very close. The way the curves look are very close. Even this one's very close, except Michigan, as these are much higher. We counted more infected. And these, of course, looks like now they're doing well. Their medicine's good, and they're counting the infections. Okay, I'm going to try to go a bit quicker now. Brazil is doing very good mitigation, very good counting. Well, I wouldn't say very good mitigation, but the blue is close to the green, so they're doing a good job. This is not good. They're close to the expected based on the density. The density is a weird number because the capital is extremely dense, but compared to the whole country, it's not. Brazil is not extremely dense, but so this number, I would probably say, I would expect higher numbers because the capital is so densely populated. But either way, I hope it doesn't reach this point or this point. Finally, Colombia. Maybe next time I'll do Ecuador because I've just taken too long already. The number dead in Colombia is not good compared to New York. About looks like about 80% compared to New York. The mitigation, when they count this number, let's multiply this by 10. So that's 1,000, 10,000. They probably need to do better testing. But either way, the mitigation is not good. Right now, they should be at a much lower number. You've seen the other graphs. However, this number seems to have hit some kind of plateau. Again, this is the highest I expect based on the density of Colombia, and I think that's fairly accurate. Colombia is not too dense, but they got to get their medicine better, or they're, well, I don't think, both are not very good, right? 1,000, that means 10,000 people are counted. Should be more than that for a country of 50 million. There is good news. Then this keeps increasing, but this one is flat. So the number of tests are increasing, so they're testing more people that are mildly affected, and this number is staying flat even though the testing is increasing. They could do a little bit better with their medical care, but it's not horrible. It's not as good as expected, but it's not horrible. These two need to come closer together.